Switching gears here, according to the CDC, 1 in 5 couples struggle to conceive, but the author of a new book declares a key issue is a, quote, disconnect with femininity.
That book is boldly titled The Feminine Fertility Cure. Discover your innate power to have a baby regardless of age, diagnosis, and scary statistics. And here with more is the author and fertility coach, Rosanne Austin. Before we get to your book, we got to talk about that discussion we just had a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Women over 30, single, can't possibly be happy.
Well, you know, I actually am seeing that women are finding more happiness when they tap into exactly what I talk about in this book and returning to the feminine. So this is going to be a really great discussion.
Right. Interesting. Okay, yeah, and you outline what is called the masculine and the feminine without going into too much detail, because of course we want people to read your book. Give us a brief synopsis of what you mean by that.
Well, so what I'm talking about when I say the masculine and the feminine is really the way that we operate. So many women are career driven, which is great. I'm a former prosecutor, so I know deeply what that is. But when we are in do mode and all we're doing is producing, that's the masculine. The feminine is all about restorative behaviors, rest, taking care of ourselves, eating well, our spirituality, whatever that may be. That's the feminine side. And that's really something that a lot of women who are not happy or who are struggling to conceive are disconnected from.
And you found in your research, in your writing, that women who, I guess, tap deeper into their feminine end up conceiving.
Exactly. Well, just as you said, 1 in 5 couples is now struggling with fertility. And I see this every single day in my practice because when treatments, diets, lotions, and potions are not working, I'm the person that women all over the world come to. I coach a lot of physicians, lawyers, teachers, nurses, engineers, very career-driven women who are finding themselves getting to 40, 45, even 50, and saying, I feel like I've missed something. And very often it's the family. So it's tapping back into that side of themselves. And, you know, a lot of women, including myself, we hold ourselves to a very masculine standard of achievement, rather than taking a minute and saying, does this work for me? And so a lot of women are rediscovering their femininity. And we also know that high stress levels equal high cortisol. High cortisol slows down the conception process. I mean, this is not woo-woo. And so when I talk about mindset and the way that you think, which is what I teach in the book, it's really about how you approach your life, the stress you put yourself under. And we see that higher stress levels and higher cortisol lead to longer time to conception if a woman ever conceives. So I see this in my practice every single day. I mean, I've helped women from ages 28 to 53 get pregnant, and it's that powerful.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of articles recently. I know some people as well who are in their 40s and in their 50s that are still getting pregnant and had no issues. Others have had to do operations and procedures like IVF, things of that nature. But it's not impossible. It's definitely something that is doable. But you say in this book that there's a superpower women have that makes them a little bit, you know, talk to me a little bit about that superpower, if you will.
It's their femininity.
Okay.
It's being able to tap back into that and say, two things can be true at the same time. I can have a wonderful career and I can have the family that I desire, because so many of us were led to believe that you have to choose. And I take a very firm stand that we can have it all. Maybe not at the same time, but that we can find a way to have true fulfillment professionally and personally, and that's all about tapping back into the feminine.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of discussion, definitely recently, on the masculine and the feminine, especially online, and all can exhibit qualities in both. So we definitely want to say that you can have both masculine and feminine operating. Since you're talking mainly about cortisol and stress and bringing that down, did you want to lead with the feminine to kind of tap into that broader conversation that's happening?
Yeah, and I think that when we all have masculine and feminine in us. Male, female, it doesn't really matter. And so when you tap into the feminine, you're going to pay attention to what your body needs, what your heart needs, and the kind of activities that make sense. And even when making decisions, I mean, people talk about intuitive decisions. Well, that comes from the feminine. And it's fascinating what happens. I mean, I have watched women who have struggled with IVF, multiple rounds of IVF, 10 rounds of IVF, which is almost incomprehensible. They tap into what I'm teaching, boom, pregnant the very next cycle because they started living their life differently. They started listening to their physical cues. They brought the stress way down, and they also changed their perception of self.
Exactly. I had that happen. It's funny you say that, Rosanne. With one of my good girlfriends, 7 rounds of IVF, and it wasn't until she surrendered.
Oh,
she
my goodness.
let it go.
Give it to God.
Yeah,
right?
gave it to God, and the very next time it happened. So
Have I
I've
told
seen
you
that.
lately that I love you guys? I mean, the fact that you can even speak that language demonstrates to me that you have access to your feminine. You understand, and the mind and body work together. This is not even in dispute. The data shows this.
Yeah.
We see this in cancer patients. We see this in IVF. We see this in so many different chronic illnesses that once you start to tap into your mindset, you think differently, you change your belief system about yourself, incredible things can happen, including healing.
All right,
It's remarkable to see what you're able to do for each
I'm
one
gonna talk
of
to
us.
you for an entire hour. This is a
Thank
great
you.
segment.
Right.
Get the book, The Feminine Fertility Cure. We appreciate your time, and that's where you can stay connected to Miss Austin.